Well, Donald Trump is not letting up on his criticism of former Miss Universe. The way he treated Alicia Machado came up in last night's debate. She says when she won the pageant, the way he bullied her after she gained weight led to eating disorders and depression. Today, Trump not only kept the story going, but kind of made some other comments about her. Again, I'll speak with Alicia Machado in the next hour. Right now, Brian Todd has more on the former beauty pageant winner who's now a part of the presidential campaign.
She doesn't have the stamina.
When Donald Trump questioned Hillary Clinton's stamina, she was ready, taking on Trump with his own alleged words about a Miss Universe contestant.
He called this woman Miss Piggy. Then he called her Miss Housekeeping because she was Latina. Donald, she has a name.
Where did you find
her
this?
name
Where
is
did you find
Alicia
this?
Machado.
Where did you find
and
this?
she has become a U.S. citizen, and you can bet she's going to vote this November.
Okay.
Alicia Machado from Venezuela, winner of Trump's Miss Universe contest in 1996. With all the stressors after the event, Machado says she gained about 20 pounds. Trump claimed it was at least 40. That's when she says Trump publicly shamed her. The Clinton campaign had a highly produced ad ready to hit Trump.
Me imponía mucho. Yo le tenía mucho miedo.
This summer, Machado spoke of the names Trump called her, which Hillary Clinton had mentioned.
Miss Housekeeping, Miss Piggy, Miss Eating Machine.
Machado claims that not long after the 1996 pageant, Trump pressed her into working out in front of a crush of reporters and cameras. She says she felt like a lab rat.
One of the things that she will do in between, she'll go back and forth, okay? It's called an active rest.
At that event, Trump spoke to Inside Edition.
She weighed 118 pounds or 117 pounds, and she went up to 160 or 70. So this is somebody that likes to eat.
Machado recently told the network Fusion she protested that display.
When I talked to him like, I don't want to do this, I feel so bad with these reporters in front of me. And he told me, you know something, I don't care.
Machado says she suffered from anorexia and bulimia for 5 years. Today on Fox News, Trump defended his treatment of Machado.
She was the worst we ever had. The worst, the absolute worst. She was impossible. She was the winner, and she gained a massive amount of weight, and it was a real problem. We had a real problem. Not only that, her attitude, and we had a real problem with her.
Analysts say the Clinton campaign likely believed Alicia Machado gave them the same kind of opportunity as Khizr and Ghazala Khan, the Gold Star parents who blistered Trump at the Democratic convention.
The Clinton campaign clearly planned this out in advance, and it was going to be a rat-a-tat-tat. Last night was going to be the opening salvo from Hillary, and here comes Ms. Machado, appearing on television shows. She's always all over the news, and they made it a big story. It's very clever. It's an after-debate story that keeps the issue alive.
We reached out to the Trump campaign about the specific allegations made by Alicia Machado. The campaign, in a statement, called her claims, quote, totally baseless and unsubstantiated, and said Machado had lobbed a public smear campaign to gain notoriety at Donald Trump's expense. Anderson?
Brian Todd, thanks very much. With me again, Trump supporter Kayleigh McEnany and CNN chief political analyst Gloria Borger, and joining the conversation, Clinton supporter and CNN political commentator Maria Cardona. Maria, how effective, clearly this is something the Clinton campaign had planned out. Secretary Clinton almost didn't get this in. She found a way right at the end of the debate to get this in. You wonder what else that they had planned that she would have liked to have gotten in. But it is interesting because it does, for a second day, it keeps this story going. And Donald Trump has played into that. I'm sure he was asked about it on Fox News, but his comments continue the narrative.
There's no question about that, Anderson. And I think what was so brilliant about what Hillary did and how she did it is that she brought it up at the end, and he had started to take the whole debate after the first 30 minutes. And so I think she knew that this was going to be something that he was going to glom onto, and it's exactly what happened. But I think more than that, and why I believe it's so damning, is because it does a couple things. It reminds Latinos of the vicious comments he has said about Latinos, Mexican immigrants, Muslims, women in general. Frankly, it reminds the American public that this is a man who has demeaned so many people in America. And what kind of example is that going to set for our children. I have a young son and a young daughter at home. So what example are we going to set if we give this man the Oval Office, somebody who thinks nothing of dehumanizing women, dehumanizing immigrants? And what does that teach our son in terms of how, is that okay in terms of treating women? So I think that was a very clear message and a brilliant contrast between his character and her character.
Well, I wish that there was a fact checker at the debate to fact check Clinton and point out what our reporter pointed out, Brian Todd, that this was an allegation. And when you fact check this lady, Alicia Machado, what you find is an AP story I have pulled up right in front of me from 1998, ex-Universe accused of threat. Judge Foyne-Mayor has actually gone on air saying this woman called him and said, threatened to end his career and end his life. AP story. I also have an Economist story from the same month in February of 1998. So this is a he said, she said. I think it's actually a disservice to the American voter. Do you have a recording? I don't think you do.
No, we haven't confirmed that Howard Stern.
Well, the Associated
There
Press
is a recording on Howard Stern where he goes on there and calls her an eating machine. So from eating machine to what we just saw in terms of him fat-shaming her in front of reporters to him calling her Miss Piggy is not a jump.
Maria.
It is not a jump.
Third-party hearsay.
But
it's an allegation. It's irresponsible to report it as fact.
But calling her an eating machine and someone who likes to eat, I mean, that's
not any better.
Are those
I've
okay
had people
comments?
said about me, I like to eat. I like to eat. That is not necessarily
while
a sexist
she's standing there
thing.
being forced to work out in front of reporters.
She wasn't forced to do that. She didn't have to do that if she didn't want to. She's saying that now that she was forced to do it.
She worked for him.
You can no. She was
Yes, she
not forced
did.
to do that. She was not.
How do you know that? You don't know that. She worked for him. He was her employer. She said she was afraid of him. We could take her at her word or not.
This
take
judge
her at
was
her
afraid
word.
of her.
The point here, though, is that the Clinton campaign knew that he would take this bait. Because they saw what happened with the Kahn family and the Gold Star parents, and they saw that the day after that, he went on television and he talked about his own sacrifice, and he asked the question about why the mother didn't speak. And I think that he fell into this just the way that they thought he would, because he can't help himself.
Right. I mean, does it give you any pause that somebody is so easily riled and discombobulated by, slights that happen in the world of politics all the time?
Well, I didn't see it as discombobulated, and I really think outside of the mainstream media and outside of the political class, there were a lot of undecided voters who watched Donald Trump last night and thought he did a good job. I don't know if it's a majority. I don't know if it will move the polls. I happen to agree with Bob Schieffer that, Donald Trump didn't lose any votes and Hillary Clinton didn't gain any, but I don't think everyone saw it the way we saw it. I don't think he seemed rattled. I think he seemed like a real person on that stage, like he was speaking for the American people.
He definitely seemed rattled, and he seems rattled today. He's completely been taken off his game, and I think this story with Alicia Machado was a big part of it. And look, I know Alicia Machado. I worked with her on a couple of projects. She's a huge community activist. So for her to be going out there and talking about how Donald Trump does not have the character that we would want as somebody in commander-in-chief is going to be incredibly powerful for women and for Latinos. And just one last thing on the story that you brought up, the accusations against her.
The judge is on record saying it.
She just became a U.S. citizen. Do you know how tough the background check is to become a U.S. citizen? If any of that was true, she would not be a U.S. citizen.
It's not very tough because we had two refugees, one setting off bombs here in New York City, so it can't be that
But in
rigorous.
your story, she was never actually charged with anything.
The judge is on record, and I'm going to take the record of Judge Foyne-Mayor and the Associated Press.
But it was an accusation. He said he had an open investigation. There was ICE on no new reporting back from 1999 or whatever when that was.
He is on record saying that she called me and threatened my life. But during a case that she was involved in where she allegedly...
But as a law student, you can be accused of something, but if she's never charged, never put on trial and found guilty...
Right, and as a law student, I know what we're talking about right now is third-party hearsay because it's her word against his. We don't know if Donald Trump's word against her. We don't know if Alicia Machado...
But what we're talking about is fat shaming, which is completely different from, it's apple, orange.
Really, calling her an eating machine in public on the radio?
I'm an eating machine. I don't take offense to that.
He did it to demean her. He did it in a way that made her look bad in public.
If you gained 60 pounds and your employer said to you or said about you in front of a room full of reporters, this one likes to eat, she's an eating machine, you're telling me that would feel okay to you?
She was not forced to do this.
No,
None of us know the context of it.
She's standing in a room in front of a room full of reporters. You've gained weight. you're in a room full of reporters, your employer says to the media, oh, this one likes to eat a lot, she's an eating machine. You're telling me you would be okay with that?
I'm an eating machine.
You're okay with that as an employee?
Come on, Kaylee.
I'm an eating machine.
I
You know
find
what?
that hard
I'm
to
not
believe.
okay with. I'm
you know
not
what else
okay
this
with
does,
the
Anderson?
6 Secret Service
You know what else
officers
this
on
does,
record. I know
Anderson,
you don't
though?
want to talk about
Don't
this, but if you get to talk
Stop
about
deflecting.
I'm not deflecting because if
Yes,
we're
you
going to talk
are.
about allegations to Trump, we got to talk about allegations to Hillary Clinton, like the Secret
Well, we're
Service
not
officer
talking about
said
that.
hello to her.
Well, you know what?
But you know what else
But
is
it's
happening?
interesting.
That's really
Donald Trump
important,
could
I
have brought any of those allegations
should have.
up.
He should have.
Right. Your candidate
Yes.
didn't do any of that.
That's right.
So I get that you're an incredibly smart person and are able to bring this up. I guess it's just surprising to me that the candidate himself didn't think on his feet to bring up anything that would go against
And
Clinton.
should have brought up her email scandal more.
Right.
I agree with you. The comments this morning continued the story, and he shouldn't have made those comments. But what I think is this is a case of hearsay, and the voters deserve to hear about issues. And I think
The other reason why, though, this is damning is because any man who has a wife, a daughter, a mother, a lot of women go through this, right, in terms of self-image. And so this is going to be incredibly relevant and compelling to anybody who sees
it
this
moves the
story.
needle anywhere down the road. Kayleigh McEnany, thank you. Gloria Borger, Maria Cardona, despite many saying Hillary Clinton won, and by the way, we're going to talk to Ms. Machado in the next hour, despite a number of people saying Hillary Clinton won the debate last night, Donald Trump is saying he did the best job and topped, quote, virtually every poll about it. Many of his loyal supporters agree with him. Randy Kay caught up with some of them today in Melbourne, Florida, and asked them why. That is next.